Welcome to E-Pathsala. I am Professor Sandhya from School of Economics and working in University of Hyderabad. So today's lesson is on demographic dividend and economic growth. The learning objective of this module is to see the impact of demographic dividend on economic growth of other Southeast Asian countries as well as India. Demographic dividend and economic growth. Demographic transition has three phases. Each phase of demographic transition process creates a unique age structure for any country. First phase is high stationary stage. Both birth and death rates are usually high. The death rates are high because of poor diet, insufficient sanitation and the absence of effective health services. Birth rates are high due to the prevalence of certain deep-rooted social customs and beliefs. Transition stage, second phase. In the second phase of transition, fertility starts declining at a fast pace leading to a reduction in child population. Second phase of demographic transition. In this phase, the reduction in birth rate lags behind the rapid decline in death rates. As a result, population grows readily, which is referred to as baby boom. This type of population growth occurs due to the existence of large number of young persons as compared to earlier periods. This boom has an echo effect lasting for around 25 years when the initial baby boomers reach their reproductive age and another round of young population gets added to the total population, leading to a rise in working age population and is marked by considerable reduction in the dependency ratio. This phenomenon provides a link between population growth and economic growth. The third stage is low stationary stage. In this phase, birth and death rates are once again affected when the economy of the third world nations attains sustainable development. Economic development changes the structure of production, reduces the importance of family as a production unit and increases the role of women outside the home, reducing economic advantages of large family. As a result, birth rate slows and the economic development reduces the death rate. When a further reduction in death rate is not possible, the birth rate equals the death rate, leading to a more gradual and smooth rate of growth of population. Such a demographic condition is characterized by less risk of mortality and the small family norm. Demographic transition and age structural transition. Each phase of the demographic transition process creates a unique age structure for any country. Age structural transition is determined largely by changing birth cohort sizes due to falling fertility and the reduction of mortality among the world. There will be continuous higher growth rate of working age economically active population during the second phase of transition and its growth is more rapid than the growth of total population or the dependent population during this period. It leads to demographic dividend. The growth rate of percentage of working age population is a measure of demographic dividend. It is equal to the difference between the growth rate of working age population and the growth rate of total population. Population of the working age increases or accelerates economic growth even if all other things remains the same. There is a time period for demographic dividend. Demographic period bonus is expected to be for a short phase in any population depending on the pace of fertility decline. If fertility decline is slow and steady as occurred in the Western countries, this phase passes even unnoticed. Developing countries of today, including India, which have experienced rapid and sudden decline in fertility, age structural transition is vividly evident and is expected to be present for over 40 years. With fertility declining at the rate of population growth receding throughout the world, the attention in the debate on population development has now shifted to the changes in the age structure of population and its impact on economic growth. Decrease in fertility results in a decrease in an annual number of births and the percentage of young population. This leads to the decrease in the young dependency ratio. Young bulge. Increasing young bulge in developing countries is an inevitable outcome of age structure transition. In 1994, 20% of the population of the world was in age group of 15 to 24 years. According to United Nations, more than 100 countries worldwide had young bulges in 2000. 15 to 29 age population people account for more than 40% of adult population in sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia and the Middle East where fertility is still high. The corresponding figures in 20 to 25 years were 20 to 25% in North America and Europe. Ratio of working age population to non-working age population is the variable that affects the economic growth. Theory suggests that the specific variable driving the demographic dividend is the ratio of working age to non-working age population. Both the level and growth of the working age population to non-working age population ratio have a positive impact on economic activity. This is done by Bloom and Canning, 2004. This phase may also be both cause and consequence of the increase in investments in education and health, which boosts the economic growth further. Demographic dividend boosts economic growth. Younger population are more entrepreneurial, adding to productivity growth, tend to save more, which may also lead to favorable competitive effects. These are quoted by Prasad, Ranjan and Subramanian 2007, Wee and Jiang in 2011, and have a larger physical base because of economic growth. There are fewer dependents, children and elderly, for the economy and the government to support. Working age population and economic growth. Age structure transition as a factor in economic growth has been of historical interest. This was observed by Cole in 1972 and Kiefich in 1971. The working age population is growing more rapidly than the consumers. This provides an extra boost to per capita income. Analysis of the relationship between demographic transition and economic growth in developing countries has shown that there is a shift in their labor force from low productivity agriculture to higher productivity industry and service sectors, and to increase productivity within these sectors. Bloom and Freeman, 1986. Demographic bonus had a positive impact on the economic growth in all South Asian countries except in Philippines, as observed by Navanitam in 2002. Population of working ages has contributed very significantly in accelerating economic growth in China and East Asian countries, as observed by Bloom and Williamson in 1998, Manson and Lee in 2006. Demographic transition enhances economic growth through various mechanisms. A number of mechanisms through which demographic transition can be delivered. Bloom, Canning and Sevilla in 2003. Increased labor supply. The magnitude of this benefit depends on the ability of economy to absorb and productively employ the extra workers. Savings. Other mechanism is savings, human capital and increasing domestic demand due to increase in GDP per capita. Savings and human capital affects labor force. Savings and human capital affects labor supply in two ways. Number one, as people available for work increases, per capita production increases if the labor market absorbs larger number of workers. In the second way is, women are more likely to enter workforce as family size decreases. In Thailand's more prosperous regions, young educated industrial workers, including a large proportion of young women working in manufacturing and financial sectors, have contributed significantly to the country's dynamic economic growth, as observed by Nair PS in 2010. Now let us come to the Indian demographics. What has happened to Indian demography? Trends in population growth. The history of India's population growth since 1901 can be divided into four parts, as given in table 1. 1921 is called the year of Great Divide because it distinguished the earlier period of checkered population growth to a period of moderately increasing growth. 1951 marks the beginning of a period of rapid population growth. In third breakpoint is 1981, after which the high growth registered some definite signs of slowing down. In the next 3 decades, births have further declined and so the population growth rate. Table 1 explains the various breakpoints of population growth and the growth pattern during that period. Table 2, age structure of India's population, has explained that the working age population has increased from 53.3 in 1961 to 61.9 in 2011. Data from table shows that the percentage of child population has declined from 41 in 1961 to 29.7 in 2011. Percentage of old population has increased from 5.7 and 8.5 respectively. Dependent population has declined from 46.7 in 1961 to 38.3 in 2011. Bulge in working age population can be attributed to a decline in number of young dependents in the age group of 0 to 14 years, which is also reflected in the falling crude birth rate and total fertility as shown in table 3. This figure 1 tells age sex pyramids of India from 1970 to 2050. Age sex pyramids of India. In 1970, India had a very young population. Moving forward in time, the base of the population pyramid shrinks as the number of working age individuals increase relative to children and elderly. As a result of decline in fertility, young dependency ratio has decreased from 808 to 480 per thousand population of 15 to 59 years of age between 1971 and 2011. The old age dependency increased from 115 to 137 and combined dependency decreased from 923 to 617 between 1971 and 2011. Figure 2 illustrates the age structural transition of India from 1950 to 2050. So, it shows from 1950 to 2050 how the composition of various age groups have changed. So, if we observe that, one can notice that 15 to 25 to 24 to, or in other words, working age population has increased. The share of working age population is increasing, whereas the share of the child population is decreasing. One more thing one can notice is the percentage of old age population is also increasing. So, however, the windows of opportunity is provided by the working age population. So, this working age population is increasing up to 2025. Thereafter, because of the old age population percentage is increasing, there is a decline in the working age population. So, we had the windows of opportunity of this increase in the working age population. Now, let us see the effect of age structural transition on per capita GDP. The share of young population engaged population declined at a slower rate since 1970s. The share of economically active population only from the year 1980, resulting in the decline in dependency ratio from 1980. The average per capita GDP was less than 1% during 1960 to 80 and it has increased to more than 3% during 1980s, coinciding with the increase in economically active population. The rate of growth of India was slower than many Southeast Asian countries, which may be because India was not open to trade during 1980s. Effect of age structural transition on per capita GDP. The decline in dependency ratio is likely to continue for another 2 decades and this gives greater opportunity for economic growth. Opening up of economy in 1990s will increase the prospects for economic growth provided the policies are directed to increase the productivity by providing employment to the growing working age population. 3 distinct features of Indian demographic profile that have key implications for the growth of India and the Indian states were identified. India's demographic cycles is about 10 to 30 years behind that of other countries, indicating that the next few decades present an opportunity for India to catch up their per capita income levels. India's working age to non-working age ratio is likely to be peak at 1.7, a much lower level than Brazil and China, both of which sustained a ratio greater than 1.7 for at least 25 years, which is indicated in figure 3. India will remain close to its peak for much longer period than other countries. This distinctive pattern has a cause and consequence. The cause is shown again in figure 4, India's gradual TFR decline. This figure 3 shows all these countries started the post-World War II era with roughly the same very high TFR rates. TFR then declined rapidly to below replacement levels less than 2 in China and Korea. In India, the decline in TFR has been much more gradual. India's rate of growth was around 3.5% during the first 3 decades of planned development and had risen to a higher growth close to 6% over the last 25 years. Again, GDP grew at more than 9% between 2005-6 to 2007-8 before slowing down in 2008-9 with the advent of world recession. Chandrasekhar CP et al. In 2013 found that the following reasons for this: improvements in India's merchandise export performance and its growing attractiveness as a destination for global foreign direct investment flow. The growth in financial, software and information technology enabled services with leadership performance in the latter two. The effects of these are likely to be amplified because of India's current demographic advantages relative to the developed countries and China. There are distinct approaches to study the determinants of economic growth. Bloom and Freeman in 1986 and Bloom Canning et al. In 2009 employ a simple shift share analysis to decompose the growth of income per worker into a portion attributable to the relocation of labor from low to high productivity sectors and a portion attributable to the growth of labor productivity within the sectors. Ramachandran calculated a simple correlation between GNP growth rate and the percentage of working population to total population from 1951 to 2011 and found it as a 0.6741, which is a positive and highly correlated. Decomposing per capita GDP is another form of looking at the impact of demographic dividend on the economic growth. The contribution of population age structure to economic growth in India during 1991 through 2001 was analyzed by Ranjan in 2014 through decomposing the per capita gross domestic product small y equal to GDP by total number of population, and which is equal to GDP by number of labor force. Per capita GDP domestic product equal to O into W into A, where Y is the gross domestic product, L is the total number of workers, W is the working age population and P is the total population, and small o is the gross domestic product per worker, W is the proportion of workers in the working age population, and A is the proportion of working age population to total population. So, log y equal to log o plus log w plus log a. In terms of the growth rates, the above equation leads to the following identity as ry equal to ro plus rw plus ra. In table 5, demographic dividend in India during 1991 to 2001 is given, where the proportion of working age population to total population contributed to an increase of about 0.3% per year to the increase of GDP per capita or just around 7% of growth rates of GDP per capita, indicating that the contribution of working age population is not very high. In India, the difference between the growth rate of working age population and the growth rate of the total population has been small during 1991 to 2001. Demographic dividend in India during 1990s has at best been marginal. The decline in fertility in the country has not been rapid enough to induce substantial changes in the population age structure of the country that would have a telling impact on economic growth. Table 6 gives demographic dividend in India during 1901 to 26. Data from table 6 indicate that demographic opportunity resulting from the faster growth of population in working ages is expected to account for around 14% of the growth in GDP per capita and 11% during 2001 to 6 and 2006 to 11 respectively. The growth of GDP per capita is projected to diminish rapidly after 2011 because of the slowdown of economic growth in working age population. Based on methodology in Modi and Iyer in 2011, Economic Survey of 2016 and 17 calculated the estimated demographic dividend for India in addition to the additional growth due to demographic factors alone for the 2001 to 10 decade and for the next 4 decades. The peak is in 2011 to 20 at 2.6 percentage points and starts declining thereafter. Table 7 gives projected demographic dividend for India. Now we will look at the contribution of different sectors to economy. The contribution of agriculture to GDP has reduced over a period of time in India and the share of services has increased. Data from Table 8 show that the percentage of workers has decreased in agriculture sector from 1999 to 2000 to 2009-10, which is a welcome trend. But these workers are not being absorbed either in the manufacturing sector and are landing up in the construction sector. Data on education and training skill mismatch was noticed in the Indian economy. This is also supported by extremely low levels of education in the manufacturing sector, which is supposed to be the engine of growth for emerging market economy. Employability is not improved in all the sectors, especially in the manufacturing sector, as it would lead to substitution of labor by labor saving technologies. Table 8 shows the increase in the number of workers given in millions and their percentage shares in different sectors of Indian economy. Now let us conclude the module by saying that empirical analysis has shown that during the process of demographic transition, countries undergo a change in the age structure of their populations. Economic growth is attributed to the rise in the share of individuals of working age 15 to 64 years in the total population with respect to those in the non-working ages, that is child population 0 to 15 years and above 64 years. The rise in the relative share of working age population in the economy is termed as demographic dividend. It is well documented that demographic dividend played an important role in the economic growth of most of the Southeast Asian nations. India did not reap the demographic dividend to the fullest extent due to the following setbacks. Disadvantages of industrial structure. Though the IT industry's contribution to India's national income and economic growth is significant, it is not able to play an equal role in mass employment as manufacturing does. The restrained development of manufacturing industry results in a restrained domestic market, which in turn triple effect. Inadequate education is another key restraint on India's demographic dividend, since labor advantages not only come from its quantity but also its quality. India faces a major deficit in the areas of education and health, which could adversely affect the conversion of growing labor force into an effective workforce offering quality low-cost labor, which is otherwise called as human capital approach. However, India can still reap the demographic benefits since there is a clear polarization of demographic transition among Indian states, provided the state wakes up and provide quality education and skills that are required for various sectors of economy. Thank you.